Hello, barbarians. This is mostly just a little palaver. It's a little talkie cast, so that I can give you updates on what's going on and let you know about some of the decisions we've made and things we're going to be changing and all that sort of stuff. As I'm sure you are all aware, we are in the middle still of a pandemic that's seeing a rebound because of the varied ways it's being handled, especially here in the United States. This has meant that our in-person games simply cannot happen, and we don't know when they can come back at this point, because it's really about the safety of our friends and of ourselves. So that's something that we're going to be putting on hold. That being said, obviously there's the option of playing online. Not all of our normal in-person players are able to do that, especially right now. The issue of a pandemic has created some extra responsibilities for some of our friends. And so, a lot of things are in flux. But we have figured out some ways to play online, and you're going to start seeing some of those episodes very soon. One of the things that you'll notice that has changed is that Dungeons & Dragons is not going to be a featured game on the podcast for the foreseeable future. One, obviously, D&D is everywhere. And although I love running D&D and I do feel like we bring something different to the mix, there are a lot of issues that Wizards of the Coast has with their community right now that make it undesirable to promote their games. I think that it's something that we can come back to later when they are able to make the adjustments that they need to make to be more welcoming to their community. That being said, it's really an opportunity to play other games. I love D&D. It's a game that, because it's so familiar to everyone, I have used to help bring people into gaming and then often switch to a new system, like forcing all my friends to play Call of Cthulhu. But yeah, it's just with what they have going on, I think it's a good idea to move back from that for now as a way to show our support for the people who are being marginalized by some of the decisions or indecisions that they are making. So what does that mean for you and what you might hear on our fun little podcast? Well, one, we have done a crossover recently through online recording with Esoteric Order of Role Players. We were on a one-shot that they ran of Unknown Armies. Santiago and I were both on there. I thought that was really fun. It's one of the rare times you will hear me playing a game. So if you want to hear that, definitely go over to the Esoteric Order of Role Players podcast and check that one out. Otherwise, I will be returning the favor by running a game for them. We already recorded our session 0. I'm getting a few episodes in and edited before they start coming out, but we have generated our Monster Hearts town, and we're going to start getting into that. And that'll be a fun kind of longer form arc. And then I have recruited some of my friends who are capable of recording online to start looking into a really cool Pathfinder adventure. I figure Pathfinder is not a difficult leap from Dungeons and Dragons for those players, and it will give me the opportunity, since I'll be using Roll20, to release videos, which will hit our patrons first, showing what that tabletop looks like. So I'm really excited about that one too. There are also a bunch of other games that have been on my list to play for a while, and this decision allows me to kind of look into those more realistically, look into playing those as we finish these games. because, you know, we're not playing a multi-year D&D campaign at this point for the podcast. And I apologize, I'm in the bird room, so if it's a little echoey, and if you hear him tweet or beep or anything like that, that's just because he misses you too, because he's also stuck inside during quarantine, so it's very exciting. But that's, the other thing. So for those of you on our Patreon, you'll know that we basically froze it for a while we figured out what was happening with quarantine. We couldn't continue our Call of Cthulhu game in person, and not everyone was available to record, and I didn't want to just drop people out of that game because we were having so much fun. And so without knowing what our content plan was, I didn't want to continue to charge people for anything. And then more recently, the tax rules that Patreon was using changed, requiring people to note what kind of benefits patrons were receiving so that they could be charged tax as appropriate. And we understand that they're just following the rules that have been set by various countries for how taxes need to work. But that led us to decide to categorize patron categories in a way that would not cause a trigger for tax payment. And we're going to get around that with special things that are simply bonuses, but not officially part of the patron tiers. So expect to see that rolling out soon as well. Like I said, the main things that we're working on right now are getting these games started and recorded. So I have a backlog of a few episodes, and then we're going to start releasing them. So definitely keep your ears peeled. And if you want other podcasts to listen to in the meantime, particularly if you are also sort of looking for things beyond Wizards of the Coast right now, obviously I've mentioned Esoteric Order of Role Players. They are some of our awesome friends that, we met through being fans of their podcast. Honestly, they're amazing, and they play so many cool games across genres. Right now they're playing a cool fantasy Palladium game, or they just wrapped up their arc. But they play a lot of horror games and stuff too. They're just amazing role players. There's Twin Cities by Night, which play primarily horror games, a lot of White Wolf, Onyx Path RPGs, but they've branched out into a lot of other games as well. They have like a set cast group, but they'll switch off who's running the game. And so there's a lot of really neat variety there, depending on what you're into. Their topics that they cover and their storylines do tend to be a bit darker, so that's something to keep in mind. And then there's all sorts of other cool RPG groups like the Lovely Craftians. They play a lot of Call of Cthulhu. I would honestly just get online and start looking around, because there are so many cool games, and these podcasts can introduce you to games to help you figure out how you would run them and how you would want to play them if you're looking to branch out. So I'm really looking forward to sharing some of these new episodes with you soon. I have a lot of really cool ideas for how I want to edit them and incorporate sound and do the things that help make online play a little bit more immersive and engaging for the players. And so hopefully I'll have some behind the scenes stuff for you as well, showing how I'm doing that. So if it's something that you think would work for you, you could integrate it too. All right. Well, that's kind of my little ramble. The TLDR, we will have new stuff up soon. It won't be D&D. You'll hear some new voices from us anyway, voices that are very established in the community otherwise. And Patreon changes will be coming shortly to make sure that no one's getting charged tax once we unfreeze the patron tiers. So thank you so much for continuing to support us. I really hope that you're all doing well considering everything that's happening right now. And honestly, in case it needs to be said, because there seems to be so much division, we support the rights of people. We believe that Black lives matter, that Indigenous lives matter, that women's rights matter, that trans rights are human rights. It has been really frustrating and enraging and sad how much division there has been in the treatment of people who are people. So if that's something that you need to hear, there you are. We are here for you. If that is something that you don't agree with and you don't want to listen to the podcast anymore because of that, you can make that decision. And honestly, that's probably a good idea, because our community should be full of people who love people rather than hate them. So, I think that's just important for us to remember right now, especially as everyone goes a little stir crazy, especially if you are following quarantine guidelines. Oh yeah, we're also big believers in science. I'm a biologist, so I have to. But I understand it's easy to get frustrated and a little stir crazy. Hate is still not tolerated. So let's be here for each other. We all need that support right now. So thank you again for being here. I really appreciate it. Gaming is kind of a way I keep my sanity. So being able to figure out how to continue doing that through this time has been really important. So until next time, barbarians, spend your rage wisely, or don't, and just wait for the next podcast. See you later.